Erica, this has become so divisive, so political. What do you make of all that?
I don't think that this is a political issue, and I think that we do ourselves no favors by pretending like it is a political issue, especially when we know how fleeting politics can be in terms of who is in charge and who's in power and who's not. That narrative changes every 4 to 8 years. The narrative that doesn't change is emboldening voices for people who don't necessarily have the tools to even deal with what we're talking about right now. What my visceral reaction to this is, I remember my biggest issue with this is everyone keeps talking about the incident in 2012 and the blackface at the same high school, and people want to just make it seem like you can't have those two conversations at the same time. And I think that it's important to have those two conversations at the same time, because it's talking about the pattern of behavior in our country and what we choose to embolden and what we choose not to. By saying that those two things have nothing to do with each other, it's ignoring a very stark issue. I personally, and I can only speak to my own experiences, but my experience has been, I went to a high school where I was one of 3% of black people at my high school. I remember the Million Man March. I remember there being a huge walkout and protest that the black people didn't have to go to school. I remember being on the bus my freshman year in high school, and the kid next to me said, well, I went to the dean and said, it's not fair that the N-words don't have to be in school today, and we do. And I turned to him, and the other kid said, well, what did Dean so-and-so say? And he goes, well, I told him that, so I don't care what he said. And just the idea that, like, he felt like that was completely okay. 4 years down the road, I'm in a situation where I'm a senior in high school, and keep in mind, like, I don't have anything disparaging to say about my high school as a whole, my experience. I'm saying what this particular experience was. When I'm walking back in and the kid next to me says, well, monkey, you see what monkeys do. And this is the same school. And I got suspended because I chose to physically lash out and lose control of myself. I take responsibility for that because I always hold myself to a greater standard than anyone else. But when we just let these little things go, the little things, that's what I was told. Like, well, you should have been more control of yourself. But no one ever addressed the persistent racism that you have emboldened this child since my freshman year, since his freshman year, to think that these things are okay. When we don't call on the carpet cognitive dissonance, that is when you say, well, I'm completely painted in black, so of course my face is gonna be black, and we're supposed to act like that's not a cue. When you say, I'm aligning myself with this particular ideology, but that doesn't necessarily mean, you know, this about me, and we're just supposed to say that's okay. And for me, it's so emotional to me because I'm not a racist or a separatist. I'm married to a Caucasian man. I just don't want to have a child one day and we find it so this is just a course of action that my child thinks that I am less than my husband, or they hate that part of themselves. What are we really having conversations about if we can't truly just call on the carpet what we're talking about here? I think that it's such a bigger problem, and everyone wants to talk about politics, and I'm not interested in talking about politics because there was a different president when I was a freshman in high school, and there'll be a different president when I have a child. But these issues are going to remain the same, and we need to call it for what it is.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you, Erica. I don't think there's much more to say about that. I appreciate your honesty, and I think more testimony like that, Erica, can allow people to be empathetic and hopefully be part of the solution. I really hope so. Thank you.